Welcome in, everyone. Ready to explore the world of mindful breathing. We've got a whole stack of your sources right here, practical guides, scientific studies, even some personal anecdotes.
It really is fascinating how something as simple as breathing can be so powerful. It's like we have this built-in tool for stress reduction and well-being, but we often don't even realize it's there.
Okay, so let's maybe start with the basics. What exactly is mindful breathing? I mean, it sounds pretty self-explanatory, but I'm guessing there's a little more to it than just, inhaling and exhaling.
Yeah, you're right. There's a subtle but pretty important difference between just breathing and breathing mindfully. It's not about forcing your breath to change or anything like that. It's more about bringing your awareness to it, like noticing the natural rhythm of each inhale and exhale without judgment. It's like tuning into your breath as its own experience.
So it's more about kind of being present with your breath, like how mindfulness is about being present in the moment.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. Mindful breathing is actually a core part of mindfulness practice. By focusing on your breath, you're really anchoring yourself to the present moment, and you create a little space between you and that constant chatter of your mind.
Okay, that makes sense. But why is this such a big deal? We breathe all the time without even thinking about it. What makes mindful breathing different?
That's the thing, we kind of take breathing for granted. It's like this automatic function we rarely think about. But here's where it gets really interesting. Research is showing that bringing awareness to your breath can have some incredible benefits. We're talking reduced stress, better sleep, even potential boost to your immune system.
Wow, so we're not just talking about feeling a little more zen, there's actual science behind this. Tell me more about those benefits.
Well, think of your autonomic nervous system as your body's autopilot. It manages things like your heart rate and digestion. And it basically has two modes: fight or flight for those stressful situations, and rest and digest for when it's time to chill. Mindful breathing essentially flips the switch from fight or flight to rest and digest.
So instead of getting stressed out waiting for that very important email, mindful breathing can help me chill out. Sign me up.
Exactly. And it actually goes even deeper than that. Research shows mindful breathing can actually change the structure and function of our brains, particularly in areas associated with attention and emotional regulation. We even have one study here that looked at the impact of mindful breathing on university students' stress levels, and they found that even a few minutes made a difference.
That's incredible. It's like we can rewire our brains to be calmer and more focused just by paying attention to our breath. Speaking of calming things down, one of the sources you shared mentioned a technique called body scan meditation for releasing tension. As a fellow shoulder tensor, I am very intrigued.
Oh yeah, the body scan is fantastic for that. It's like taking a guided tour of your own body, using your breath as your guide. So you would start by focusing on your breath, then slowly bring your attention to different parts of your body, just noticing any sensations without judgment.
It's like giving yourself a mental massage from the inside out. I can see how that would be amazing for releasing tension you didn't even realize you were holding. So we've got the what and the why of mindful breathing. Now for the exciting part, the how. What are some techniques we can start experimenting with?
Well, there are so many to choose from, each with its own unique benefits. Let's maybe start with a technique called equal breathing. It's a simple practice that involves making your inhales and exhales the same length.
So it's about finding a sense of balance and rhythm in your breath. That makes a lot of sense. I can already feel myself relaxing just thinking about it.
Right. And research suggests it's good for your mental well-being, too. There was a study on older adults with high blood pressure, and they found that equal breathing can help improve mental clarity and increase oxygen supply. They said typically a count of 3 to 5 seconds for both the inhale and exhale is a good place to start.
Got it. Consistent and comfortable is the name of the game. Now, I'm curious about this resonant breathing technique. It sounds intriguing, almost musical.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool one. What's fascinating about resonant breathing is it actually taps into your heart's natural rhythm. And a more variable heart rhythm is a sign of resilience, like your body is better at handling stress. This technique involves breathing at a rate of 5 full breaths per minute, so counting to 5 for both the inhale and exhale.
Wait, so my heart rate variability can actually change based on my breathing? That's wild.
It is. It's like your breath is having a conversation with your heart,
Hmm.
encouraging it to be more adaptable. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Some sources suggest that resonant breathing, when combined with Iyengar yoga, Can even help with symptoms of depression.
Okay, now that's powerful. It really highlights how connected our bodies and minds are. And speaking of powerful techniques, let's talk about the 4-7-8 breath. I've heard so much about this one.
It's incredibly popular, and for good reason,
Mm.
especially for managing anxiety. It's like hitting the pause button on your stress response. Basically, you inhale quietly through your nose for a count of 4, hold your breath for a count of 7, and then exhale completely through your mouth for a count of 8.
I can see why that would be helpful in moments of panic or stress. It forces you to slow down your breathing and sort of interrupt that spiral of anxious thoughts.
Exactly. And if you're looking for something even simpler to remember, there's always box breathing. It's a great technique for just finding a sense of grounding and calm. You just inhale for a count of 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and hold again for 4, creating a box shape with your breath.
So many techniques, so little time. Okay, we've got equal breathing, resonant breathing, 4-7-8 breathing, box breathing, and the body scan meditation. What other techniques should we add to our mindful breathing toolkit?
Oh, there's so many fascinating techniques. It's amazing. Yeah, it's like we're discovering this whole new world within our own breath.
I'm ready. But before we dive into more techniques, I do want to know more about what's happening in our bodies and minds when we practice mindful breathing. What's the science behind all of these amazing benefits?
Yeah, well, we've touched on the autonomic nervous system, right?
Hmm.
Which controls those automatic functions like your heart rate and digestion.
Yeah.
And remember, it has that fight or flight mode and rest and digest mode.
Hmm.
And so mindful breathing basically like copexes your body into rest and digest. It calms things down.
It's like hitting the brakes on stress.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And those benefits go beyond just feeling relaxed. I mean, there's studies showing that mindful breathing can actually change the structure and function of our brains.
Wait, really? So our brains are changing just because we're paying attention to our breath?
I know, it's incredible. All right. It's all thanks to neuroplasticity, which is this amazing ability of our brains to change and adapt throughout our lives. And mindful breathing seems to really tap into that, so it can strengthen those areas related to attention, emotional regulation, and even self-awareness.
So it's like we're giving our brains a workout, but instead of lifting weights, we're focusing on our breath.
I love that analogy.
All
That's
right.
a great way to put it. And just like any workout, the more you practice mindful breathing, the stronger those neural pathways become. And that leads to lasting changes in how you respond to stress and challenges.
Okay, that makes me feel hopeful. It means that even if I've struggled with things like anxiety or feeling overwhelmed, mindful breathing can help me develop healthier patterns.
Absolutely, yeah. It's never too late to start training your brain for greater calm and resilience.
You mentioned earlier that there's this connection between our breath and our emotions. And I know when I'm stressed, my breath gets all shallow and rapid. And then when I'm relaxed, it's like I naturally take these deeper, slower breaths.
Yeah, you've hit on something really important. Our breath is like this mirror. It reflects our emotional state. They're constantly influencing each other.
So it's a two-way street. Our emotions affect our breath, and our breath affects our emotions.
Exactly. So when we experience strong emotions, our body responds physically, and that includes changes in our breathing pattern, right? It's like your body's way of preparing you to react to a perceived threat.
Oh, so that's why I feel like I can't breathe when something stressful happens. Is my body going into that fight or flight mode?
Precisely. But here's the empowering part. We don't have to be at the mercy of that reaction. So by consciously slowing down and deepening our breath, we can actually interrupt that stress response and create a space to kind of choose a calmer response.
Wait, so I can actually change how I'm feeling just by changing how I'm breathing?
That's the power of it. It gives you that precious pause button, that moment of awareness, where you can step back from the intensity of your emotions and then make a conscious choice about how you want to respond. And it's not about suppressing your emotions. It's about creating a healthier relationship with them.
Okay, I'm officially convinced that mindful breathing is a superpower we all need. So we've talked about starting small, finding a time and place, and being consistent. What else can we do to make this practice, really stick?
Well, finding a community can be incredibly helpful.
Like a meditation group or a mindfulness retreat? I've always wanted to try one of those.
Yeah, those are great options. Or
Yeah.
even just finding a friend who's also interested in mindful breathing and, supporting each other can make a world of difference.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like having a workout buddy, but for your mind. It's always easier to stay motivated when you have someone to, share the journey with.
Totally. And sometimes, just hearing about someone else's experience can spark new insights or even just help you push through a challenge.
Speaking of challenges, I imagine it can be tough to make mindful breathing a daily habit. What advice would you give to someone who's struggling to stick with it?
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that it's a practice, not a performance. There's no need to be perfect. Just be kind to yourself, start small and then gradually increase the duration as you feel ready. And don't be afraid to experiment with different techniques because what works for one person might not work for another.
So it's about finding what resonates with you personally.
Absolutely. Like if you love being in nature, try practicing mindful breathing outdoors. Or if you're more drawn to like visual arts, then explore those visualization techniques we talked about. It's about making it your own.
It's funny, just talking about mindful breathing for these past, couple of episodes has made me so much more aware of my own breath. I catch myself taking these deep, calming breaths now without even thinking about it.
Yeah, it's amazing how that happens. It's like we've rediscovered this, like an innate ability we all have to find calmness and focus within ourselves. And the best part is the more we practice, the more accessible that calm becomes.
Okay, so we've covered the what and the why of mindful breathing, but I'm ready to dive into the how. What are some specific techniques we can use to actually, tap into those benefits?
Oh, there are so many techniques out there. It's kind of like a menu of options for your breath. And the beauty is there's no one right way to do it. It's all about finding what resonates with you.
Let's maybe start with some beginner-friendly techniques. You mentioned counting breaths earlier. That seems simple enough, even for someone who's never meditated before.
Yeah, counting breaths is a classic for a reason. It's so simple, but incredibly effective. So basically, you just want to focus on your breath and silently count each exhale. You could count up to 10 and then start again at 1.
Okay, that does sound easy enough. But what happens if you, lose count or your mind starts to wander? I feel like that would be me, every 5 seconds.
Oh, that's totally normal. Don't get discouraged if your mind wanders. That's what minds do.
Yeah.
The key is to notice it without judgment and then gently guide your attention back to your breath. You could even make a game of it, like see how many breaths you can count before your mind wanders off, then try to beat your own record next time.
I love that. It takes the pressure off of having to be, perfect at meditation.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
this isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about showing up, being present with your breath, and allowing it to gently guide you back to the present moment.
Speaking of being present, what about those visualization techniques you mentioned earlier? Those sound really interesting.
Oh yeah, visualizations can be incredibly powerful. They add kind of like another layer to your mindful breathing practice. So one technique is to imagine your breath as a wave, gently ebbing and flowing with each inhale and exhale.
Ooh, I like that. It's so calming, like those ocean sounds people listen to for relaxation.
Exactly. Or you could try imagining your breath as a color, maybe a soothing blue or a vibrant green, and then as you inhale, visualize that color flowing into your body, filling you with peace and energy. And as you exhale, picture it flowing out, carrying away any tension or stress.
I can already feel myself relaxing just thinking about it. It's amazing how, our minds and bodies are so interconnected.
It really is, yeah. That mind-body connection is so important. And mindful breathing is like this direct line of communication between the two.
Okay, so we've got counting and visualizations. What about when we're dealing with, specific issues? Like, if you're feeling super anxious, are there certain techniques that are particularly helpful?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We talked about the 4-7-8 breath earlier. That one is fantastic for anxiety.
Huh?
That extended exhale is like a signal to your nervous system that it's time to chill out.
It's like a shortcut to relaxation.
Right. And then there's box breathing, which we also talked about. That
Yeah.
like rhythmic pattern of inhaling, holding, exhaling, holding. It's incredibly grounding, almost like a mantra in breath form.
I love that. It's like you're creating this, container of calm with each breath.
Totally. And sometimes the simplest approach can be the most effective. So even just paying attention to the physical sensations of your breath, the rise and fall of your chest, the coolness of the air coming in, the warmth of the air going out, that can be enough to ease anxiety.
It's about, anchoring yourself to the present moment through the, tangible experience of your breath.
Precisely. Because when your attention's on the present moment, those anxious thoughts and worries, they kind of tend to fade into the background.
That's so important. It's so easy to get swept away in that spiral of what ifs and worst case scenarios. And mindful breathing kind of helps us to step off that hamster wheel and find a little peace.
Yeah. It gives us that space to choose a different perspective, a calmer response.
Speaking of finding peace, I am someone who always struggles with sleep. Can mindful breathing help with that too?
You're not alone. A lot of people find mindful breathing helpful for sleep. Have you ever tried diaphragmatic breathing? Or it's also called belly breathing.
I've heard of it, but I haven't really tried it intentionally. What's so special about belly breathing?
Well, it's all about breathing deeply into your abdomen, so you're letting your belly expand with each inhale and gently contract with each exhale. And this helps to slow down your breathing, relaxes your muscles, and calms your mind, the perfect recipe for a good night's sleep.
It sounds so much more relaxing than that shallow chest breathing I tend to do when I'm stressed.
Yeah, it really is. And you can even combine it with other relaxation techniques for a supercharged sleep routine. Imagine doing some gentle stretches and lying down and practicing your belly breathing while listening to some calming music or a guided meditation for sleep.
Oh, that sounds heavenly. I'm adding that to my to-do list for tonight. But what about those times when you need to be more alert and focused? Can mindful breathing help with things like concentration and creativity too?
Absolutely. It might seem kind of counterintuitive, but by calming the nervous system and reducing mental clutter, mindful breathing can actually enhance your ability to focus and tap into your creativity. It's like clearing out the cobwebs to make space for those aha moments.
I love that. So instead of guzzling coffee when I'm feeling mentally foggy, maybe I should be taking some deep breaths instead.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's definitely worth a try. And there are even specific techniques that can further enhance focus and creativity. For example, have you ever heard of alternate nostril breathing?
No, I've never tried that one. What's it supposed to do?
Well, it's a yogic breathing technique that involves alternating breaths between your left and right nostrils. And it's believed to balance the two hemispheres of the brain, which can promote clarity, focus, and even a sense of calm alertness. It's like giving your brain a refreshing reset.
Wow, that's fascinating. I'm definitely going to have to try that one. It's amazing how many different techniques there are. It's like a whole world of possibilities within our own breath.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this practice so exciting. There's always something new to explore, and the benefits are so profound.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into mindful breathing, what are some key takeaways you hope our listeners will kind of remember?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's important to remember that mindful breathing is a practice, not a destination.
Hmm.
So be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself, and don't get discouraged if it feels challenging at first. Like any skill, it takes time and practice to develop.
It's a journey, not a race.
Exactly.
Mm.
And most importantly, remember to have fun with it. Experiment with different techniques, find what feels good in your body, and just enjoy the process of discovering the incredible power of your own breath.
I love that. It's about finding what works for you and making it your own. Well, this has been an incredible journey. Thank you so much for taking us on this deep dive into the world of mindful breathing. I think I speak for everyone listening when I say I'm feeling calmer, more centered, and ready to breathe my way to a happier, healthier life.
Thank you for watching and listening. We hope you found your inner peace with our podcast. Keep yourself updated and join us on our next episode. Stay safe and healthy, and have a good day. See you soon.